Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to go a little bit deeper into one of the businesses that I mentioned in my last video. So if you watched my last video, I mentioned that I started several businesses and some of them worked out good and then some were disasters. So I wanted to go over like one of the ones that was a disaster. And for me, that was the rental car business. So I started off renting my personal vehicles, and I think this was like back in 2019. And I was renting my personal vehicles on a platform, and it was kind of like Airbnb, but it was Airbnb for cars. So I had two cars that I put up there for rent, and they were being rented out consistently, and I was doing pretty good. So um, I decided, like, after I was renting those cars out for a while, I decided to go off on my own, because what happened was when I got the payment from the company, I noticed like a lot of my money was missing, and I was trying to figure out like what was going on. Then I realized that the company took a large cut of the profit. So I didn't make nearly as much money as I thought I was going to make. So after I seen the paycheck came in, I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I could do this on my own. So I decided to cut out the middleman and to start renting cars on my own. And how I did that is I went through friends and family and word of mouth. So I started spreading the word that, I have cars for rent. And so that's how I was getting my customers. So like I said, I started off with my two personal vehicles, and those were like rented out immediately. And they stayed rented out like, you know, every week. Like, those cars were always gone. And since there was my personal vehicle, I needed them sometimes. So it was kind of like, okay, do I want to make the money or do I want my car back? So at that point, I was feeling good, like the business was going good. So Facebook Marketplace became like my go-to place when I was going to look for another car. So I ended up going to Facebook Marketplace and finding another car. And I really didn't have, I don't have a background as a mechanic or anything like that. So what I had was a scanner. It was like a little tool that you could take with you when you're going to check out a car. And I took that scanner with me, and I would meet people, like in a parking lot, and check the car off. And if it looked good, if it rode good, if it met the criteria I was looking for, then I would go ahead and, purchase a car. And these cars there wasn't brand new, and I was purchasing them, outright in cash. So eventually, I built my fleet up to about 7 cars, and I was doing really, really well. The cars stayed rented out like all the time. So I had money coming in, and I was able to start paying myself back and like rebuilding my bank account from, buying all these cars for cash. Um, Everything seemed to be going fine, but a few months into the business, everything just, took a turn for the worse. So what happened, the first disaster was I rented a car to a guy, and my process of renting cars was not very good, and I would not recommend anybody go this way. All I would get was their driver's license. I'd have them fill out a little basic contract that I wrote up on the computer, and pretty much if you had a license, and you signed the paper, then you could take the car. And that was a big mistake. So I rented the car to a guy, and he was supposed to have the car for like 3 days and bring the car back at 6 p.m. I think it was like on a Sunday. Okay, so he had the car for 3 days, and come Sunday, he's supposed to return the car. 6 o'clock comes, I don't hear anything. So I call him, it rolls right to voicemail. I text him, nothing. So me trying to look on the brighter side of things, I'm like, okay, well maybe, an emergency happened or something like that. Maybe that's why he's not answering the phone. So I wait a few hours, try and reach out to him again, still nothing. Rolling straight to voicemail. So I'm like, I'm starting to stress out, but I'm trying not to. And at this point, I went to bed for the night. I woke up in the morning, checked my phone, Still hadn't heard from the guy, no response back. So I get up out the bed, I get in my car, and I start driving around town, like literally driving around town looking for my own car. It was ridiculous. I was driving around, and every time I would like pull up and I would see like a car that looked like mine, oh, it was the same color, make and model. I pull up, maybe that's him. It wasn't. So, I was out looking for my car for a while, and then I come back home and I'm racking my brain like I don't know what to do. And so I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and call the police and, report the car as stolen because, I didn't know what else to do. So I called the police and I called to make a police report and tell them that my car is stolen. And they started taking my report. And then they asked me, well, did you give them permission to drive the car? Did you give them, did they get the keys from you? Did you give them permission? And I said, well, yeah, I was renting the car out to them. So yeah, I gave them permission. And at that point, they said, oh, well, they didn't steal the car if you gave them permission to drive it and you gave them the keys. So this is a civil matter. And I'm like, what? What do you mean? A civil matter? They took my car. Like they didn't bring it back. They were supposed to bring it back on Sunday. They didn't bring it back. So they stole my car. Well, I guess that's not what the law is. I gave them permission to drive it. So there was nothing the police could do to help me. So I was so frustrated. So I went home. I was heated. I was very upset. Continued to try and reach out to the person. So at this time, pretty much, I guess I just donated the car to him because I never got the car back, never seen or heard from the person ever again. So that was disaster number one. Okay, the second disaster was I rented a car to another gentleman who was supposed to stay locally within 100 miles of the city that I live in. I guess he decided that he was going to go where he wanted to go, and he drove to Las Vegas. He drove like 9 hours away. He took my car to Las Vegas. He was supposed to have the car a week and a half. And so I guess the very first day that he got to Vegas, which is the same day he picked up the car, he got into an accident, and I think he hit a tree or he hit a pole. Now, I don't know if he had been drinking or what, but he hit a tree. He got out the car and abandoned the car. So he just left the car there. And I get a call, or I got a notice in the mail that my car was at a tow yard in Las Vegas. And I'm like, what? So I had racked up all these fees from getting the car towed and it sitting in the tow yard. And I ended up having to get the car towed all the way back to where I live, 9 hours away from Las Vegas. The car was a complete, total wreck. Like it was not salvageable. And so I have this piece of junk sitting outside in front of my house that I had to get towed home, and there was nothing I can do with it. So I was just out of that money, like completely out of the money. So that was disaster number two. And then the final disaster was I had rented another car out to a young lady, and she kept the car for a few months, which was totally fine because I did give her permission to keep the car as long as she was paying on time. I didn't see a problem with it. And I told her just make sure that she comes back within 3 months so that I can do the maintenance, get the oil change, make sure the tires are okay and so forth. So I guess I was lucky because at least she did return the car. The first person, I guess I just donated the car to him. He never showed up. But she came back. She brought the car back for me to do the maintenance. Now, when the girl pulled up, the car sounded like a tractor. Okay, now, this was a nice car when she got it. It was going boop, 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 clack, 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 making all kind of noises. And it sounded like the engine was about to blow up. When she pulled up, I'm thinking like, what the heck is that noise? So, I go to the car, do my little greetings or whatever, and I'm walking around the car. The car is filthy. Open up the door, and this rancid smell just was reeking from the car. I was like, oh my God. I'm looking at her, like, what did you do to the car? You've only had it for a couple months. It sounded like a piece of junk. So I ended up having the mechanic check the car out, there was all kind of stuff wrong with it. I mean, the engine, the suspension, you name it. I mean, the inside, it was like the smell, you couldn't even get it out. So I ended up having to junk that car. So now that's 3 cars. And I still had a few cars that I was renting out. And it just turned into a big headache, like something I had to manage all the time. And so I decided, I'm just going to give this business up. I ended up selling off 2 of the other cars, and I ended up keeping two of them. So, and I still have the other 2 to this day. But I would not recommend you to go off of a platform. If you're on a platform renting your car out, don't do like me. Don't think, oh, I can do it myself, and cut out the middleman unless you're really experienced in doing that. I'm so gung-ho. When I do something, I do it to the 10th power. And I just jumped headfirst into this rental car business, and I learned the hard way. I mean, I seen my bank account get drained so fast. I was so gung-ho, like buying all of these cars at once. And it seemed like it was a good idea. I just knew I was going to be rich like within the next few months because the money was rolling in. But I never even recouped all the money that I paid out from buying those cars. And it ended up being a very expensive lesson. So I would not recommend that you go that route. And hopefully you can learn something from me, because what I would do differently, well, first off, if you ask me, would I do it again? Heck no. There's no way I would be renting out my own personal vehicles. I would not do it again. It was too much of a headache. But what I learned from it is I should have did my research. First off, I should have screened the customers, like just getting their driver's license and having them fill out a piece of paper of how much they're going to pay me for the car for, whatever time that they were having it. That was not doing my due diligence. I would have got commercial insurance because I had basic insurance, which means when they tow the car up, that's it. Like, there was like the person that wrecked the car and drove it into a pole, my insurance wouldn't pay for it because I had basic insurance. So I would have got commercial insurance. I would have screened the customers. I would have had an airtight contract. I didn't really have a leg to stand on. And, I would just did a lot more research instead of just jumping head first into it. But it was a lesson learned. And so what I can take away from it is, at that time, it was not a funny thing. Like, I wasn't laughing. But now I can look back and I can laugh at myself. And, it's funny. It's good to tell the stories. But I'm hoping that this has helped you. And I hope that you can learn something from my mistake. I've made plenty of mistakes. And so if you enjoyed the content, I'm hoping that you would come back and that you would consider subscribing to my channel. I have plenty more stories. They don't all end well, but I am going to be telling them all here. So please like the story, like my video, comment, and share with someone who you think would benefit from hearing my story. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you.